welcome to the third in my 6 Tudor Queens reading vlogs. This is the reading vlog for Jane Seymour. The book is called 6 Tudor Queens, Jane Seymour, The Haunted Queen. Big old chunker like the rest of them. As I said, this is the third in the series, so if you'd like to go back and watch the Katherine of Aragon reading vlog and the Anne Boleyn reading vlog, I will pop them down below if you'd like to go and have a look at those. Lots of reading done in those, lots of stuff finding out about those queens. Sorry, I'm squinting. The sun is really blaring through the windows. It's actually harder to do it that way. That's why I've moved you here. So yeah, so here I am. If you've not been on one of these before, this is a vlog where I read a book about one of King Henry VIII's 6 wives. I'm working my way chronologically through those wives, and we've got to Jane Seymour, who, and I'm just going to sort of tell you the things that I know about Jane Seymour. So Jane Seymour actually appeared in both of the Katherine of Aragon and the Anne Boleyn book. There was, she was very dear to Katherine of Aragon. She was one of her ladies in waiting, and she was very, very dear to her, and a good friend to her. She was also one of the ladies in waiting for Anne Boleyn, if I remember rightly. I think she was. Anyway, there's definite overlap between Anne Boleyn and Jane Seymour, which seemingly is what King Henry VIII is into, overlap. I also know that she is the only of his 6 wives to bear him a son. I can't even remember the name of that son. Edward? Louis? One of those king names. And that she died, I don't think she died in childbirth, but I think she died as a result of complications from childbirth. I don't know how old she was, but we're bound to find that out. And is there anything more I know? In 6 the musical, 6, which is in these vlogs what I sort of base my dressing up on. I also dress up as the queens in these vlogs, and I base it on the queen that appeared in 6 the musical. So this is Jane Seymour here, depicted here in grey, but in the musical she is very much in black and white. Her corset is sort of in the style of like Tudor houses, the pattern on there. Now, I've been to see 6 the musical 3 times, and I saw the old touring cast, so not the current touring cast, the old touring cast, and Caitlin Tippin was playing the part of Jane Seymour. Now, I've had a look at various Jane Seymours, including the original Jane Seymour, Natalie Parrish, I think her name is, and in the majority of the Jane Seymours in 6, she's got long straight hair with like a little bit pinned back here, and then sometimes a headband, or sometimes just like a little studded thing there. Now, you'll remember this guy from my Katherine of Aragon vlog. So I think I'm going to straighten my hair and then pin a bit back, and I think I'm going to wear this headband. Maybe not for all of the outfits that I'll be wearing, but some of it. Anyway, let's get on with straightening the hair. I don't think I'm going to put any makeup on today. It's Friday the 1st of July. I've just finished work, and David is currently watching the last 2 episodes of the current series of Stranger Things. He's very excited. He's actually talking a lot about it as well. And we're not doing anything today, so I thought I can't really be bothered to waste makeup on today. So there will be further makeup stuff going on in other days. But yeah, I'm going to straighten my hair, and whilst I do that, I'm going to tell you more about the 6 the musical Jane Seymour. So she, in the musical, she's the only queen that sings a sort of slow song called Hearthstone. It's very emotional. When Caitlin performed it, it's she's got a very amazing control of her sort of voice, and it's very touching and wonderful. Now, each of the queens is based on a pop star. So Katherine of Aragon was based on Beyonce or Shakira. Anne Boleyn was based on Lily Allen, Kate Nash or Avril Lavigne. And Jane Seymour is based on Adele or Emily Sandé. And this is sort of reflected a little bit in what she wears. Like I said, she's got a corset on which is black and white, and the body of that looks like Tudor houses. But she's also got a sort of, she's got the longest skirt of all of them, which is sort of like, is it called a waterfall skirt, where it's sort of like a little bit up at the start, at the front, and then the hem, or is it something like a dropped hem or something, and then long at the back. Don't want to put those straighteners on there because that will melt my makeup palettes. And yeah, like I said, sort of like traditionally sort of feminine, I would guess, compared to other Queen's hairstyles or other Queen's dresses in the thing. So I think she's sort of lauded as the most feminine, or potentially like the most motherly, despite Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn both having had children that will go on to be part of the royal court. She's, I think, depicted as like the most motherly. So yeah, that's all I really know about her. I think because before seeing the musical, after seeing the musical, I thought she was very sort of like depicted as very innocent and pure, and how awful it was that she died as a result of complications of her birth. But having read the Anne Boleyn book, it sounds as though she sort of knew what she was doing. Now, I haven't started the book yet, but I did have a brief look, because at the front of all of these books, they're amazing books to read. I'm really having a great time, but at the front of all of them, they all have the same thing, where they've got family trees at the top of the book. And this is the most simple family tree I've seen for the Queen so far. Anne Boleyn, I think because Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon, well, Anne Boleyn was slightly related to Henry, and Catherine of Aragon's one was very complex as well. This is basically like two people got married, had kids, and two people got married, had a child, she married someone else, and then they had lots of these children, Jane Seymour being one of them. And then at the back of the book, just as we're talking about how much I enjoy the books as a whole, at the back of the book, they have a list of characters as they appear, which is very helpful, like particularly if I'm like, oh bloody hell, who's that? And I can go back and just remind myself of it. And it also has a timeline as to what's happening during those times, so again, can sort of recap myself, or if I'm being cheeky and want a little spoiler, I can have a little look and see what's happening then, because this is history, guys, so there is going to be lots of spoilers going on. Now, I also thought I would chat to you, before I get reading with the books, of other sort of like extracurricular Tudor stuff I'll be doing during this month. So previously, for the Catherine of Aragon, I watched The Spanish Princess. For Anne Boleyn, I'd planned to watch the Tudors, but guys, I know I'm in the minority, but I really didn't get on with the programme, the Tudors. So I won't be watching that. However, I am going to be doing a bit of non-fiction, because this is like fictionalised history. But I've got out from Libby The 6 Wives of Henry VIII by Antonia Fraser. This is 22 hours long, and what I plan to do is listen up until Henry VIII's death. No, that's not true. Jane Seymour's death, and see how and what more I can learn from that as well, which I will report back on. I also started watching the Lucy Wolseley documentary on the 6 Wives of Henry VIII. There was 3 of those, and they were sort of split into, each episode was split into 2 queens, basically because of like the sort of overlap. So I watched the first one, which was mainly about Catherine of Aragon and also Anne Boleyn, but I will watch the second episode, which will feature more about Anne Boleyn, and I imagine the majority about Jane Seymour. So I've got a few other little bits to be getting on with, but yeah, I'm just not going to carry on watching the I'm not going to carry on watching the Tudors. I just didn't get on with it. I've been a bit surprised when I've been searching Jane Seymour. Jane Seymour, she's the name Jane Seymour. She's also an American actress, isn't she? Or keep fit instructor or something, I think, maybe, or model. But anyway, whenever I was searching sort of like films about Jane Seymour or books about Jane Seymour, that Jane Seymour was coming up. So yeah, but anyway, join me. God, 8 minutes I've been chatting, 9 minutes now. Join me and let's find out what I learn about Jane Seymour. I'm going to finish my hair, show you that, and then I'll go and start on the book, because that's quite exciting, isn't it? I'm very much looking forward to it. I always feel so pumped and excited at the top of these vlogs. Let's finish the hair first. Well, there we go. What do we think? Straightened, little centre parting. I've clipped a bit of it back. Beautiful. Should we go and read the first chapter? Hopefully David will let me sit on the sofa, despite him being excited about Stranger Things. He's got to let me sit on there, hasn't he? I think I've literally just come to sit down at a moment where David wants to cry about what's happening in Stranger Things. Are you all right, David? He's too looked into this. So I just realised as well, so I'm just about to start reading the Jane Seymour book. It starts in 1518, and as I've previously said in previous vlogs, is that Catherine of Aragon has been my favourite queen so far, and I'll get to see her again, won't I? Because this overlaps with Catherine of Aragon's story. And probably in quite a favourable light, because let me tell you, the Anne Boleyn book, we didn't see Catherine of Aragon in a very favourable light. So let's read the first chapter, which covers 1518, and then we jump all the way to 1526. That's unusual, we haven't done that before in previous books. A health to the bride. Sir John Seymour smiled and raised his goblet as the company echoed his toast. So, first chapter read, as I said, it's set in 1518 when Jane is 10, and then the next chapter skips to 1526, 8 years later, and I know why that is now. Jane, who is 10, she is one of many children, so I imagine Henry VIII married her thinking she was fertile as ever. She's one of 9 children. She's actually the 6th child. Oh, I don't know if that means BWD might mean that John, her older brother, died after death, I think, maybe. Died after death, died after birth. She is absolutely dead set on being a nun. She's 10 and she's attending the wedding of her older brother, and she's saying that, like, she wants to be a nun, she wants to pledge herself to God, etc, etc. It seems that her mother and her father seem to be sort of on board with that, is what you think throughout. She talks about how whenever her mother says about marrying her daughters off, oh, and you to the church, Jane, that sort of thing. Also, she is educated. Her parents are quite forward-thinking for the time and educate their girls as they would the boys. But she says that she'd much prefer to be doing needlework and stuff because she's going to be pledging herself to God, so she doesn't know why she might need to know these things. Now, at the end of the chapter, right at the end, she goes to speak to her mother and says, like, I'm 10 now. She's also very grown up for a 10-year-old. She goes to say, I'm 10 and I want to, I'm going to be 11 soon, and I really want to be able to pledge myself to God. Can you help me on this journey? And her mother says, wait till you're 18. 8 years is a long time between the age of being 10 now to turning 18. You're going to think a whole host of other things, and you might find yourself that you don't want to be a nun. You might find that you fall in love with somebody. She said, oh, 8 years is such a long time, I don't really want to do that, please, please, please. And her mother says, no, that's what I've decided, and don't bother going to ask your dad because we're both on the same page. We will look at this again when you're 18, which is when it then skips to 18. So yeah, interesting sort of beginnings. Her father reminded me a bit of, I read Persuasion last month, and her father sort of like pontificates on family history and who their ancestors of and who her mother's an ancestor of, and the place they live, which is called Wolf Hall, which originally was Ulf Hall in Wiltshire. And yeah, he sort of pontificates and things like that. And Jane is sort of like inwardly rolling her eyes like, oh God, here goes Dad about the history again. Like I said, she's quite sort of like grown up for a 10-year-old. But yeah, already into it. Just the first few pages. There's only 14 pages. And yeah, I imagine I'll kick straight off. Oh, chapter 2 is very, very short. So I imagine I'll kick straight off with chapter 2 right now. Well, today hasn't gone as planned. Today is the end of Saturday. So today, we were supposed to be, our parents, David's parents and my parents, we've never, this is my, when I bath my niece, not for my bath, although I would be interested how hot my baths get. I'm going to put that in there tonight. Today my parents and David's parents were supposed to be meeting ahead of our impending nuptials this year. They've met a few times before, but only like when we've been moving house and things like that, so it's supposed to be like actual meeting. But my dad rang me, they're supposed to be going around there at 2. My dad rang me about 12:15 and said, oh, your mum's really not very well, do you think you can come round and see how she is? So I went round there and she sort of like slumped in a chair. Anyway, she's not a very ill person, my mum, whereas I'm a bit sort of pathetic and I don't feel very well. She's not really like that. She's not like me. So yeah, so she wasn't very well at all, and we think we've just been there's been a few bugs going around. Last weekend I was sick in the night, which is unheard of for me. Then my niece was sick in the week. My sister and her husband don't feel well either. And my mum just said she had a bit of funny stomach. She hasn't been sick or anything, but she just feels really sick all the time. So we had to cancel, and like she was mortified because it was such short notice, and like she hates letting people down and all of that. So we had to cancel on David's parents. We're hopefully doing it again tomorrow instead of today. But then once my sister realised it was cancelled, she was like, oh, can you come and pick my niece up and take her to the park, because me and my husband, me and Stuart haven't got any energy at all. So we took her down the beach, got an ice cream. Doing so well with wearing white, and I got cherry ice cream, and I actually got myself a cherry ice cream and got her a knobbly bobbly, and then I thought that'll be easier, and then halfway through she was like, I want that one, so I had to swap with her. So yes, we spent the whole day looking after her. So not the day that we had planned. However, you're not here for that update, you're here for the Jane Seymour update. This is what I was wearing today in the style of Jane Seymour, because it's a black and white time, isn't it? So I bought this second-hand online from this person that I'm literally buying all of her clothes from her. I really, really love it. I've been really looking for an oversized white shirt. I just really hope that cherry sorbet comes off. And then I've got this top on underneath, which I bought years ago from Uniqlo, and I've never been able to wear it because I haven't been able to find a bra that doesn't show. It's like that at the back as well. And I absolutely love it. I love the high neck of it. I think I really like it. Guess what? Just wear a sports bra underneath it, guys. That doesn't show at all. So yeah, very much like this outfit, very much black and white. And I mentioned, didn't I, that I'd painted my nails. Well, it actually looks a lot bluer there. It's called Black Grape and it is a bit bluer. Something else I did today is watch the first episode of Wolf Hall, which is mainly based on, well, at the moment it's mainly based on, there's only 6 episodes based on the Hilary Mantel book, both Wolf Hall and I think Bringing Up the Bodies, it's based on that as well. But really enjoyed the first episode. You're following Thomas Cromwell and his sort of ascent, played by Mark Rylance, who's really good, but you also meet Anne Boleyn, who's played by Claire Foy. She's very good. And then you briefly, and I mean like briefly, meet Jane Seymour as well. So hopefully Jane Seymour will appear a bit more. And the actor who plays Jane Seymour is the person who plays Linda in Peaky Blinders. And I didn't realise until that point, but that is sort of how I imagined Jane Seymour before I saw 6. But yeah, so with the book, I'm about to get in the bath, which is why I'm in the bathroom. I'm 94 pages in, we're up to 1529, so I'd only read the first chapter. She decided she didn't want to be a nun. She went to the nunnery and had a fucking terrible time. She was like, nah, this ain't for me. Went home. Her father, who seems like a rank individual, had been having an affair with his daughter-in-law, and for 9 years, and they thought maybe that the children that she thought her brother had sired were actually her father's children. So yeah, and then now she's at court serving Katherine of Aragon. She's very into Katherine of Aragon. She really, really likes her, which I got the vibe from the Katherine of Aragon book that was the case. And yeah, she's not very enamoured with Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn has been rumoured to be with Henry VIII, but nothing's really happened yet, and she keeps disappearing from her duties and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, oh, and the sweating sickness happened, and her brother and sister died, which was really sad. Her favourite sister. But yeah, but there's a lot in here about Wolsey and stuff like that. I'm really excited to get into, because both the books, both Katherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn's books really focus on Wolsey, and a lot of the stuff that I've watched have had Wolsey in. The Spanish Princess, obviously. The bits I watched of the Tudors, Wolf Hall's got Wolsey in it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting sort of like past that and seeing other stuff that happened. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna have a bath now. I don't think David's gonna get in after me. I will measure how hot I might have my baths, because I'd be interested to see how hot my baths are. And yeah, and then I think I might go to bed because I'm tired, and then think about the actual day tomorrow. We'd started making salads and everything for it, so we've got a lot of like stuff that we've made today tomorrow, so it won't be at its best, but I hope we can go ahead. I've just called my mum and she says she's feeling much better, so hopefully we'll be able to go ahead. Cool. I'll probably check in with you tomorrow and I'll have a different Jane Seymour outfit on. Don't know what I'm going to wear then. I need this to go in the wash as well because of Jerry. Morning! Happy Sunday. You coming? She's coming in. Just woken up. I think I might have had a solid 12 hours, guys. No, that's not true. Oh, I didn't have 12 hours. I had 11 hours. And we're hoping that the meeting of the parents is going to go ahead today. We're just waiting on a go-ahead from my mum to say she's feeling all right. Ow! Minnie! David, Minnie just got me. No. She hasn't done that in ages. She's got her backwards ears on. Frightened. Go, please. Go, please. Thank you. Oh no, that's my sister saying that her and her husband are feeling a lot better, but nothing from my mum. Yeah, so we're just about to read in bed for a little bit. I've just made us both a cup of tea. I have last night got to part 3 of the book, Rivals. What I didn't realise was how how into Jane's story we are already. So she's been saying that she feels sort of an affinity with Princess Mary, Catherine's daughter, because her father cheated and Mary's father cheated, and what that feels like. And she is saying that she's going to stick by Catherine whatever happens, but we know that that isn't going to happen. She's going to end up going to work with Anne Boleyn. Now, I had a little brief, as I said, in each of the sections, in each of these books, they have a list of the people that appear in them, and then they have a little history. And I always like, once I've finished a chapter, just to read up on the history, just to check that I haven't missed anything. And I flipped, and she dies in 1537. Now we're about to go into 1533, so this is the densest it's been. This covers 4 years. Previously in other books, that sort of covered 4 years. So this is going to be very, very dense. Yeah, she just hit Mummy. She's meowing now. So yeah, I'm going to read some now. I've got a cup of tea. David's going to get in bed. He's going to read Summer Brother, which is which he bought for Cozy Reading Night, Summer Cozy Reading Night. And he said he's going to read these 3 books by the end of the year.
Or else I'll be in trouble.
I saw this person on the Waterstones.
Oh, okay.
On the Waterstones booktube channel, by the way. He's going to read these 3 by the end of the year. When You Call My Name by Tucker Shaw and Appetite by Ed Balls. But he also has, I mean, I'm not trying to confuse things further, but I know you're also quite keen to read Heartstopper and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder as well, so you might well have read 5 books by the end of the year.
Maybe.
God, I feel really hot all of a sudden. I think it's because Minnie put such intense pressure on me. She didn't draw blood or anything, she was just cross and then had her backwards ears on. Do you love Mummy again? Think about all those times she hasn't hit us for such a long time. We thought you'd mellowed. Well, there we go. I've just read 2 chapters and we're now up to the bit where we're now up to what I'm finding interesting is that because Jane herself, the things that I've read about before in the Catherine of Aragon book and the Anne Boleyn book, the execution of the Nun of Kent, the stuff that's sort of been going on in the background with Cardinal Wolsey, who is no longer there, but that's a big part of it. It's interesting to read about that from the perspective of someone who's a member of staff in the court rather than a queen, which is how I've read it before. She's really, really committed to Catherine. So knowing that this amount of book I've got left, and it basically spans 2 years, because I think based on the back, she dies in like 1537 or something, and this is 1535. Like, I wonder what happens for the big turnaround. So the most recent thing that's been happening is that they've been talking about the affair that Henry VIII's been having with one of the maid of honours, Joan. And then it comes out at the end that Joan was doing it to sort of maybe take his mind off of Anne so that he might get back with Catherine, apparently. And her being very upset about that. Yeah, so I'm enjoying reading it. I like Jane. I like Jane a lot, you know. And I think maybe I'd only ever viewed her as somebody... I didn't know that she'd worked... Well, I didn't know much about any of these queens when I started, but I didn't know that she'd worked on the court and things like that. I'd always sort of imagined that she'd sort of come in and been perfect and bore him this son. And I knew that she died as a... I thought she died either in childbirth or as a complications from childbirth. I think now, having watched the musical, I think I know that it's from complications of childbirth. But she's got lots of views and stuff like that, and she's very religious and quite sort of forward thinking, I guess, in the same way that in different ways that Anne was. And I like how she sort of assimilates with Princess Mary, as I've said, and things like that. So yeah, I've been finding it interesting. Here's a picture of her. These books have the most beautiful the most beautiful end papers. So that's her there in her hood, lovely dress on her, and then the end is just this sort of like Tudor rose pattern. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. The barbecue will go ahead today, so they are going to meet today. I don't know why David and I both feel a little bit anxious about it. It'll be absolutely fine and they'll have a lovely time, I'm sure. But yeah, so I'm going to go and start getting things ready for that, because I've got to film a book haul as well before that happens, and I've got to be around my mum's in the afternoon. I made a salad yesterday, I've got to have a salad to make today. Busy stuff. So yeah, so I guess I'll check in with you tonight. I'll have a Jane Seymour outfit on then, hopefully. I think I'm going to wear, because I can't wear obviously what I was going to wear yesterday, because I was very busy yesterday. I got a bit hot and sweaty. So I think I'm going to wear my black and white, like sheared blouse type thing with a nice collar, I think. Anyway, I'll see you later. Hiya! Well, you'll be pleased to know that the barbecue yesterday was an absolute roaring success. So yeah, everyone got on really well. We were really, really pleased. Because I was a bit nervous beforehand, I don't know why. But yeah, everyone got on really, really well. So great news. It's now Monday night. Been at work today. Finished a bit early because I had my car, take my car for a service. All the glamour, and Dave's about to cook dinner, and then we're going to go for a walk down the beach, a late night walk down the beach. We were saying yesterday, when it was sort of like lovely and pink in the sky and everything, last night we were like, oh, we never go for a walk down the beach when it's this time, so we're going to do that tonight. But I thought I'd just fill you in with how I'm getting on. So I've got my hair tied back. I need to wash my hair tonight because it is skanky. I am wearing black and white today. I've got these trousers, actually I've got them undone, but my mum, when I saw my mum today, because something else we've done, we've booked our bloody honeymoon today, so I'm very excited. We're going on a Norwegian cruise. My mum and dad went on a Norwegian cruise to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary, and we bought them this when they went, so I've tabbed all the pages we'll be going to. If you're from Norway, and you've been to Alisund or any of those places, let me know what's good. Anywhere basically on the coast, anything fjordy, let me know. Yes, we booked that. But anyway, when I went to say, my mum said, God, those trousers have done you so well. And I honestly think I've had them about 8 years now. I often regret that I didn't get the jacket to match them. They're from H&M, and I've got this top on. So yeah, I am wearing black and white today, so it is a Jane Seymour outfit, okay? Where we are up to, we are, so now as I said, like this last chunk, so like more than half of the book is now covering 2 years. So we're going to get into some deep down detail, which I'm quite into, and which I don't feel like we got much of in the previous 2 books. Like I said, Katherine of Aragon had a long life, so basically her book was very like, and this happened, and then this person died, and then this happened, and then I went here, and so it's very, very like factual. The plot moved heavily, because there must have been a deal where all of the books have got to be around this length. We got to know Katherine of Aragon a little bit more in the last sort of like 100 pages. And then Anne Boleyn, I feel like we got to know her more, but we're definitely getting to know, well, I mean, imagine 2 years being that. So we just got to the page. We're in 1535. We're about October 1535. And there's beginning to be the sort of beginnings of Jane Seymour fancying Henry VIII. Now, I said in my last book, didn't I, in my last bit, where I said, oh, I am enjoying Jane, I am liking Jane, because I'd always thought she was like, sort of like, can do no wrong, and a bit of a goody two-shoes, maybe a bit pious, and I wasn't really getting much pious vibes from her until now. So while my car was being serviced, I sat in a coffee shop and read for an hour. And yeah, I am getting a little bit sort of like pious-y vibes now. She really doesn't like Anne as well at all for like breaking up a relationship. And she's almost, you can almost see her sort of talking herself into the fact that everything Anne did was worse because he was in love with Katherine. And even though Anne's got a child with Henry, it's not the same as Catherine's child Mary. And if he'd have just seen sense and made Mary the heir, no, if he'd have just seen sense and got Mary to marry someone and had a and then had a child, that grandson could have been his heir. Sort of like she's always in the back of her mind, she's always going back to Katherine and Mary. They are now visiting, so Henry and Anne are on a sort of like tour, a religious tour, and they're actually staying with the Seymours at the moment. Stanhope, who is her brother's wife, who worked as a lady in waiting for Anne Boleyn as well. She doesn't like her either, and she doesn't. So she's his second wife. His first wife had an affair, didn't she, with his father? So they sent her off to a nunnery. She's died now, and this new wife does not like her stepchildren. So So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am very much enjoying it. So yeah, I'm gonna see what happens then. And then I'm gonna go for a walk down the beach. But first of all, I'm gonna eat this nectarine. David hates when I eat nectarines because of this. Hello! It's Tuesday. I'm not in a Jane Seymour outfit today. Hello, David.
Hi.
I'm in what realistically is going to be one of my Anne of Cleves outfits because she wears red and black and I don't have much red and black stuff, so this will be being featured. David and I, we just got back from a beach walk. David worked late today, as did I. Picked him up from the train station, went for a beach walk. Got out of the car, I said, David, Rishi Sunak and Sajid David have resigned. If you're not in the UK, they're both top Conservative politicians. Sunak has said the public rightly expect government to be conducted properly. Like, what is it going to take for Boris to resign? I don't know. Anyway, that's not why we're here. Oh God, and Sajid David has said I can no longer in good conscience continue serving in this government. What the fuck is going on?
Hopefully it's all leading to something good.
Well, hopefully. Anyway, it's Tuesday night. David's about to, I'm going to cook dinner tonight. David's going to do a little bit, that's the washing going now, if you can hear that. David's going to do a bit of clearing up around the flat while I do the dinner. We're going to watch Hungry for It, which is the Big Zoo Stacey Dooley programme we've been very much enjoying, haven't we, David?
We have.
But you're here for the update. So I haven't read much today. I read a little bit on my lunch, but I've been out, like as I said, working late and then out for a walk. But we've now got to the point where Jane is being courted, let's say, by Henry VIII. The way she's putting it is that she's saying things like it sounds as though it's her family who are like really coercing her into doing it for the good of the family. They're sort of manipulating her into saying that, oh, if you do it, there's a chance that he might forget about Anne and get back with Catherine. And it seems daft because you wouldn't think that in your right mind, but there is bits in here where she's sort of telling herself that maybe that is what might happen, and that the princess, so he's just said to Anne that he's gonna threaten to have the princess executed, and she thinks, oh well, maybe if I say that I will be, I will marry him, or I will be courted by him, then maybe he won't do that. So she sort of taking a bit of a like hero, I'll do all of these heroic things to help for the good of other people. We've still got a long way to go. Considering we've only got 18 months in these last 2 pages, we've still got a long way to go. And seen them chatting, there hasn't much else been going on. There hasn't been a kiss or anything yet, as far as I can remember. But yeah, that's how things are going. In terms of reading tonight, I think I'm going to read for a little bit while David puts the news on, and then we've only got that to watch. I might have an early night, David, and just read in bed, because I'd like to have this finished in time for the vlog to go up on Sunday. That's what I'd like. And at the present moment, this isn't going to be finished till Sunday, so I'd like to have it done before then. So yeah, that's the plan. More on the government news as we get it. Do you say bye, David?
Bye.
Bye. Hi. Another non-Jane Seymour outfit, because it's just been so hot. In fact, I'm a bit disappointed. Well, I mean, it's July, and one of the things I bought that I wanted to wear, and I will show it to you, just not now because I've closed down the bedroom so that it remains cool, it's like a knitted black and white vest that I really wanted to wear. I'm not going to be able to. However, when I do outfits October, I'm going to put all of the 6 queens in there. So yeah, I'm going to, I will get a chance to wear it at some point. Anyway, it's Wednesday. I've just finished work. I worked a bit later today because I had the dentist and had a bit of time to make up from when I had the car service. It's been chore city. Dentist, car service, been to the pharmacy on Monday to pick up my prescription. It's all been happening. So yeah, so I worked a bit later and I've just finished work and I'm about to drive over to pick up David. He's been working in the city today and we're going to watch Minions film tonight. Now, I wasn't very up for watching the Minions film tonight, but David made a point. He said the reason we got these passes is so we would see all the films that came out. So yeah, we're going to watch that at 8 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to pick him up. We're going to go to Marks and Spencer's and get some sandwiches for our lunch. That's up my washing, by the way. Yeah. We're going to get some sandwiches for dinner tonight, which we have done before. It is quite fun to eat sandwiches in the cinema. And yeah, and then we'll come home. But I just thought I would update you on how I've got on with 6 Tudor Queens. This is how far I am through it. Each shoulder. Read quite a lot last night. And then obviously when I was at the dentist, read a bit then too. I've had the radio on so loud, and I'm not as good as reading when there's other stuff going on as I used to be. Anyway, we have now got to the point where it has been decided that Anne is going to be tried for treason, and the punishment for treason is and regicide is to be burned by death. So it's very much kicked off with Jane, Seymour and Henry, and she believes herself to be pregnant. He's saying he wants to marry her. He's saying he's never felt love like this before. This isn't the obsessive love he had with Anne. This is a different kind of love. He's never loved anyone like he's loved her, etc, etc. It's very much written in the way where Jane's sort of like, well, I just don't really know what to do. Everyone wants me to marry the king, so I'm going to have to marry the king. And I think I've said this word before. I'd always thought of her as pious, then started reading the book. Now I just think of her a bit daft, because she's just sort of like gone along with things until it's now at the point where Anne is going to die to make way for Henry's next wife, which is her. And she's just had a conversation with Henry where she said, oh, please don't let her burn. It's such a terrible way to die, such an awful thing to do. And like, he's agreed that he won't let her burn. So we know she gets beheaded, and apparently, well, whether or not this is written in history, but it was Jane that convinced him to not burn her. Yeah, and because I know sort of like the timeline of, like, I could see all this coming, and there'd been quite a lot of foreshadowing going on as well, like in this book, not in the other books I've read, talking about various things that would be happening. And like, she was Anne was supposed to have been having an affair with someone called Mark Smeaton, wasn't she, who was a musician on the court. And like, there's a lot of mentions of him, and like how much contact with Jane would Jane and this musician have had? Probably not, but there's like foreshadowing and stuff going on for it. Yeah, I have enjoyed it. I think in terms of like who I've liked the best, look at me pitting these women against each other. Do you know what? I'm not going to pit the women against each other. But yeah, towards the end, like, I thought she was pious. I went into it thinking she was pious. I actually thought, oh no, maybe not. But now I feel like, yeah, it all feels a bit sort of daft, and her being like, oh well, oh, everyone just wanted me to marry him. So yeah, and she was almost talking herself into the fact that she was doing this for Katherine, because there was a chance that he might get back with Katherine if he just stopped thinking about Anne that way. I watched another half episode of Wolf Hall yesterday. I didn't get to watch all of it. I watched a bit while David was cooking dinner, and enjoying that. We'll continue to watch that. And I've been ploughing through this because I've been having it on while I've been working. I've been ploughing through The 6 Wives of Henry VIII by Antonia Fraser. It's very strange, isn't it, when you're hearing about someone's story from many different points of view, and the historians, it just goes to show potentially not how much like history has changed, but how much different events can be viewed with different people. Now, I haven't got to the Jane Seymour bit. We haven't even met Jane Seymour. We've gone past, we're now on Anne Boleyn. So I will listen to this as long as I'm reading this, and because it's out with Libby at the moment, I'll get it back out again when I get round to reading Anne of Cleves, and then I'll just continue with that. One thing I am excited about with the Anne of Cleves thing, not excited, but like I think it'll be a different reading experience from the previous 3 queens, because all of these queens have sort of like overlapped a little bit. Even Jane Seymour worked for Katherine of Aragon, so they've all got, they're like a little triangle, aren't they? But because Jane Seymour dies sort of prematurely, he hasn't got anyone lined up, is what I'm saying, and also Katherine and Anne are both dead. There's not going to be any mention of Anne of Cleves in here, and that means that it's basically like his wives are a tale of 2 halves, I guess, aren't they? Because he's the first 3 are tied up very neatly, and then when he moves on to Anne of Cleves, and I assume he'll have Catherine Howard lined up by the time he's divorced Anne of Cleves, and then I'm sure he'll have Catherine Parr lined up by the time he's decided he wants to get Catherine Howard beheaded. So yeah, it's going well, but I suppose I better go and watch Minions. What do they say? Banana! Oh, she's slumped. Oh God, I better move that so you can actually see me. Do you want to come over here a bit closer? I've got period pain. So that's why I've got non-trousers on. I suppose they are trousers, but they're not trousers. I'm supposed to go to a pub quiz tonight. Good Lord, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Anyway, you're not here to hear me moan about my period, although you probably do if you follow me, because you probably hear me going on about it every month. I'm here to update you on how I'm getting on with 6 Tudor Queens. It is, shall I wait for David to finish his meeting? Can you hear him? Do you know what I will? I'm going to sit here and just take some deep breaths, and I'll be back in a minute to tell you how I'm getting on with 6 Tudor Queens. Deep breaths finished. So, I'm now on the 4th and final part of the book, which is entitled From Hell into Heaven. Anne has just left this world via the method of having her head chopped off, and Jane is about to become queen any minute. Now we've got an hour and a half, 150 pages is what I meant, until the end of this book. And I know it all kicks off pretty quickly, because I remember Anne getting beheaded in May, and Jane Seymour dies the following October. So we've only got like about a year and a bit left with Jane Seymour. She's already pregnant, and I think she dies following the death of following the birth of her son for complications. I don't know how long she gets with her son, and she's already pregnant, and it's May. Say she's only 1 month, 2 months pregnant. Say she's 1 month pregnant. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. I don't think she has the baby in January and then dies in... I thought she died quite quickly after, so maybe this baby isn't going to make it, or maybe she's not even pregnant. You don't always know in those times, guys. Although she's missed her courses, as they keep referring to them. Yeah, there was a lot of like, because her and Henry have sort of been sequestered away whilst this while the beheading of Anne Boleyn is going on, and the men that she's supposed to have cheated on him with, and yeah, she's been staying away, as has he. He seems to be quite into her, which has surprised me, and she seems to be quite into him as well, which has also surprised me. He's 44, and he don't sound like much of a catch, I'll be honest. And I don't know how much I'd fall in love with someone who decided to have his previous wife beheaded. I was thinking about this a lot, because I was thinking about like his future wives, how sort of nervous they must have been, thinking, well, he's beheaded one, he could behead another, and then it actually happening to Catherine Howard. So, yeah. I'd like to get this book done tomorrow. It's Thursday now. I've finished work. I'm about to film a video for today. I haven't put up a video today yet. It's Thursday and I haven't put up a video. I'm going to film a video for my summer reads with some page turners, which I'm quite excited about. That'll be out already. I'll probably link that down below if you haven't seen it already. And then my friend's coming around at 6. We're going to eat some pizza, and then we're going to a quiz, and the table's booked for 7:15. I think it starts at 7:30. So I need to buck my ideas up really in terms of period pain. I've taken some painkillers. Painkillers haven't really done that much, sadly. But maybe I need to combine them with... I've taken some ibuprofen. Maybe I'll take some paracetamol and see if they can come together and bust my period pain. So yeah, that's the plan for tonight. And then working tomorrow, but no plans in the evening. We are thinking maybe we'll go and watch Thor, but I don't know. But yeah, so I'd like to be at page 4. If I could be at page over 400 today, then that means that I've only got 100 left tomorrow, and that is perfectly doable. I'm on 533 is what I'm trying to say. And then I'll edit the video and see, maybe I'll get an hour's reading in before Emma gets here. Hi, it's Friday. David's watching the last episode of The Boys. Is it the last episode, David? And I'm about to enter 1937, which is the last year of Jane Seymour's life. And I've got, yeah, 49 pages to go until I finish this. Read quite a lot last night before I went to bed, read a little bit of my lunch today. And what I have been made aware, well, what's been happening is Jane's been sort of ingratiating herself with the two princesses. So Mary has now announced that, or made it public, that she believed that her mother's marriage to Henry was incestuous, which has meant that she's now back in favour with Henry. and Jane's been spending a lot of time with the two girls and being a mother to them or a stepmother to them. And she's had, I think what she's just had is her 3rd miscarriage. So from what I've been reading of these 3 women, childbearing was hard bloody work. There's been many, many, many more miscarriages than there have children. I mean, we're 3 women in, and at the moment there's only two kids. And there's been so many miscarriages, or in Catherine's instance, children born that didn't survive longer than a few months. And even in Jane's instance, Jane was one of a lot of children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. And not all of those made it. So yeah, having a child in those days. And how they sort of... So, for instance, the most recent miscarriage that Jane's had, she's like, I can't believe I keep having these miscarriages. I've done everything to please God. I've done everything. I've even made myself stepmother to these children. And like a lot is said about God and wanting to please God, and they can't believe that it doesn't please God. So Henry's child boy that he had when he had an affair with Bessie Blount, he's also called Henry Fitzroy. Fitzroy, I believe, means son of the king, but not within wedlock. So he wasn't an heir to the throne. He has died in his, I guess, teenage years, maybe a little bit later. He was unwell, and even Henry then was like, what could I do to please God more? All he keeps doing is killing my children. So yeah, but we're about to go into the last year. Jane's father's also just died around Christmas time, so I wonder if she'll be heading back to do that. But yeah, she's queen. It's all happened. She keeps seeing like spirits at night and stuff like that. She keeps seeing like ghostly apparitions, and then like she saw like one with a French hood, which is the hood that Anne Boleyn used to wear. She also saw one 4 nights before Henry Fitzroy died. So yeah, it's all happening, but we'll see what happens in the last 50 pages. Well, we know what's going to happen. She's going to die. But yeah, we're just getting to 1537. When the new year of 1537 had been rung in, Master Aske went home, convinced that his sovereign was on his side, and Edward and Thomas returned to court, leaving Harry at Wolf Hall to run the estate. Let's go. Well, there we go, I've finished. It's a bit dark in here because it just gets so hot in here in the afternoon and evening. It's really, really, really hot. But yeah, I've finished. Very sad at the end, obviously. She dies basically about 10 days after the birth of her son, Edward. They're all delighted. She's seemingly quite well. God, my glasses are filthy. Seemingly quite well after the birth. Recovers, and there's like a ceremony to announce the birth of him, and she attends that, and it's all fine. And then she gets, I think, I mean, from what it sounds like she dies of a heart attack. She has very bad breathing problems for a long time. She says she feels like she's turned blue, and she looks at her hands and her hands are grey. And yeah, really sad at the end. Like in the same way that the Anne Boleyn death sort of quite affected me, this quite affected me as well. They were all sort of like stood around her, Henry's crying and holding her hand, and they bring the baby in and pop the baby next to her, and she sort of says that she tries to lift her hand to bless him, but she can't, so she does it in her heart, and then just sort of fades away. So yeah, enjoyed it. Not the death so much. Enjoyed it. It was interesting to hear about the points of view. It was interesting to hear about Catherine and Anne from a separate point of view rather than those two and their points of view against one another. I feel like Henry, like from what I'd seen in the musical, is that Henry is presented as this very loving husband and so delighted that she gave him a son and stuff like that, and there is definitely a lot of love in here for her before she's even given birth, because obviously she dies 10 days afterwards. But yeah, I thought his presentation, he seemed kinder to her. I don't know if a lot of it's sort of like pomp and parade and like, oh, I actually do love you compared to the other two, that sort of thing. I enjoyed that she was able to get to, she was very fond of Princess Mary the whole time, and the fact that Princess Mary was there when she died, well, according to this book anyway. But yeah, that's how I enjoyed Jane Seymour. So in terms of other stuff that I've got going on, so I've watched 1.5 episodes of Wolf Hall, which I will continue to watch. I will watch that till the end. And I've also been listening to the audiobook of The 6 Wives of Henry VIII by Antonia Fraser. You see it? There it is. And I've just, so I'm 54% in, 11 hours and 50 minutes, and I've just got to the bit about Jane Seymour. So I will carry on listening to that, but I might listen to that when I pick up the Anne of Cleves book next time, which will be going ahead in August. So yeah, that's how it's been. I hope you've enjoyed this Jane Seymour vlog. Let me know if these reading vlogs are making you want to read this, or let me know if you've read books about Henry VIII's wives, and I'd love to hear what books you've read. And I'll see you all again next time for another booktube video, but I'll see you again probably for the Anne of Cleves vlog in August. Bye!